It should also be mentioned that whenever you're dealing with optional parameters or even with regular parameters, there could be several parameters that are required, and maybe you only want to fill out one or two of them. So let's show you how to do that. I'm going to copy this I'm going to copy this function, and I'm just going to paste it here at the bottom. We're going to give it a slightly different name. So this is going to be optional welcome. I'll say optional welcome multi. And do recall that we need to have the same name as whatever the function name is for the answer to the function. But anyway, so let's just create a few things here. So instead of, we're going to do optional C first, we're going to do optional C middle, and you guessed it, optional C last. So these are like first, middle, and last name. That way we have all three of these accounted for. So hello C first, ampersand, space, ampersand, C middle, ampersand, add another space bar, and join that to the last name. But whoa, lo and behold, this is optional, right? So this is going to be interesting. So let's go ahead and run a test on that. I'm going to copy this macro here and just run a test. We'll call this test 1, 2, 3, 3. And we want to run the function called optional welcome multi. We just want to test it out here. So first of all, this one has parameters. You can tell by hitting a space bar when you look in the parameter area. Excuse me. So the first name, we're going to say, we could say Dan and comma, and the middle. So right now we have to kind of fill all of them in. We don't want to do that. Let's say we just want to do the first and last name. So here's how you can actually choose the parameters that you want to do. And it's a good idea, honestly, to be explicit about these, especially if somebody else is going to be reviewing your macro and maybe adding to it or something. It makes it a lot easier to read. It's just more polite. So for example, what we're going to do is we're going to be explicit about the name of the field. So we're going to say C first colon equals. Okay, so that's how you do it. You're going to say the first name equals, we're going to say Dan. And when you do a comma, it doesn't know which field you're going to do because you spell out the name and do colon equals. So now we could say C last colon equals, and then it like makes that in bold so you can see that we're talking about the last name now, the last field. So we could say this one equals strong, my last name here. And the cool thing is you could do this out of order. You could have put C last colon equals, and then it would have said, hey, he's doing that variable first, comma, and then whatever other variable that you wanted. And I think you probably understand what I'm doing there. So if we run this, let's see here, optional. Let's not worry about that anymore because we don't even have one called CName. But essentially, we have hello, Dan, and then that one's missing, and then the last name. So actually, we need to make sure that the middle, if the C middle initial is blank, or if it's missing, then we're just going to do a space there. So let's try that. If the middle name is missing, then C middle is equal to a space bar. This isn't going to be perfect, but I think it drives home the point that you can use any of the optional parameters. Obviously, you're not going to concatenate them all together if some of them are going to be missing, or you might do an if statement. So because this says hello, Dan, space, strong, that's a little clunky. So what you might want to do is a few if-then statements or something like that. And you know what? Heck with it. I'm just going to go ahead and show you. Let's just do that. So we're going to say if the middle name is missing, then it's just going to be it's going to be nothing. Let's try it with nothing. And then we're also going to do the same statement for the first name and the last name. So if you already get the gist and you're done with this lecture, just click the continue button or click the next button or whatever. Otherwise, if you stay with me, we're gonna review how I might handle this if we were doing this whacked out macro where we wanted to only take the parameters that we did. So we're gonna go ahead and try it here. We're gonna do C last. We're gonna double click, Control C, Control V. So let's try this here. And I'm gonna take away these these space bars, and we'll go ahead and make that optional. I'll probably do an else statement over here, honestly. Let's just join this. So essentially what we have is we have the hello statement with this space bar, which is always going to be fine. And then we have whatever the first name is. Now, if it's missing, then we're just going to have like nothing, double quote, and that's fine. It'll just be a nothing thing here, not even a space bar, not even an extra space. It'll just be nothing. And then we're going to join that to whatever this is, which could either be nothing if it's blank, if it's missing, or something and then a space. So that's what we'll do. So if it's missing, it's null, it's zip, it's not, it doesn't even exist. But, hey, else, then C first is going to be, we're going to add a space to it. It's going to be equal to itself, and we're going to go ahead and add that space bar to it, right? Because we're going to need a space after the first name. And then we'll do the same thing, like if the middle is missing, then that's fine. But if it's not missing, then we're going to do C first equals, C middle is going to be equal to itself. And we're going to join that with a space, right? Because you want a space before the last name. And if the last name doesn't exist, then we'll do nothing with it. And if it does exist, then we will go ahead and add it, but we're not going to add a space to the last name. I don't think we need to do that. So let's see what happens when we run this. Let's just put the word stop here, and that way we can run this over and over and see what happens. So we have first name is Dan, last name is Strong. So if we run this, it says hello Dan space Strong. Okay, that looks good. Let's just complete the macro and let's change it around a little bit. So now we're going to say C middle colon equals Clay, comma. By the way, that's my middle name. Get over it. Now you know my secrets, right? All right, let's go ahead and hit the play button. So let's see what it came out to. Hello, Clay Strong. Okay, interesting. So anyway, yeah, it put the middle name field there, and it looks like everything is working pretty well. Now, the only other thing we didn't test, I guess, is the first name and middle name, but you can test that on your own independently if you want to. But anyway, this is a working test for a quick demo. Anyway, colon equals after you actually say whatever the parameter name is. And you can insert whichever ones you want. You don't have to worry about the commas necessarily. We'll see you in the next lecture.